Hi, welcome to TeachStar, and today we are going to be looking at hands up in the classroom. And so for this topic, we're going to just discuss really whether, as a teacher, you should ask students to put their hand up. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons of getting your students to put their hands up. I think that we all, as teachers, fall into the trap of always and heavily relying on put your hands up if you can answer this question. And the beauty of putting the students putting their hands up is the responses you get will be preferably an answer, whether they're correct or not, but an answer that you can discuss and bring the lesson forward. If they're wrong, then you can discuss kind of the misconceptions, or you can ask students to suggest why that's not quite right. And you've got to be careful as a teacher to keep people's confidence up, because it's a brave person who puts their hand up and suggests something in a classroom. It's not an easy skill, and so there's no wrong answers. There's just answers that are using information that isn't quite along the right tracks. I like the way you worked that out. That's really good. It's not the right. It's not the right. I say there's no wrong answers. It's not what we're looking for. We're looking for something else, like along this lines, or can we add to that? And maybe can someone suggest something they think otherwise, and maybe we can discuss that point. So it's a difficult. It depends on the subject. Obviously, if it's something like mathematics, then there is a right or wrong answer. But depending on the subject, you can find something to discuss, and you can let the student down lightly. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about whether it's right. So the good thing is that you've got something to go by. And if you're being observed, and the temptation is when you're being observed, you want to keep the pace up. And I completely understand that. The downsides, however, are that there's some shy members of the class, or there's members of the class that aren't as confident, and there's members of the class who absolutely know the right answer, but don't want to kind of show everyone else that they know the right answer. And a better system is kind of a more democratic system, one that you put all their names, write all their names down, put them in a hat, and just pick them out. Everyone gets a chance of being picked, and what some class teachers I've observed have done is they put that into a different pot, so the same person's not being drawn in again and again, and that person then has confidence that everyone else is going to be asked, it's not just them. And also, when they've been asked, they're not necessarily going to be asked again for a while, because everyone else will get asked again. And then at the end of the lesson, the teacher puts them back together again, ready for the next lesson. So every lesson, anyone can be asked. And people have done these with lollipop sticks. They've written the names of the students on lollipop sticks and picked those at random. And you might say, well, hang on, what if someone's not away that day? Well, it takes 2 seconds to go, oh, they're not away, they're not here, put them in the other one. Okay, and there we go. There's also technical solutions. There's like websites that you can have it generate the names, and there's all sorts of things out there. The benefits of that is that everyone is involved in that class. It's not just the people with their hands up. And as a teacher, you probably know that you just get the same hands time and time again. And I think as an observer, and I've observed loads of lessons, as an observer, I respect the second approach, the one that everyone gets a turn, everyone can be picked, much more than the hands up approach. The hands up approach just tells you, like, you normally get a group of maybe a third or a quarter of the class always putting their hands up. So the only AFL going on is for that quarter of the class, not for everyone else. So what you might say is, well, hang on, what if it slows the lesson down? Well, find a way to make it go quicker. Say, for instance, if you don't know the answer, just say pass. That is still AFL. You're assessing whether that student knows the answer, but they have a get out of jail free card. They've got that pass. They don't have to say something. You could also break a bigger answer down into little chunks, and you say, well, instead of talking to me about why the whole of World War II started, or whatever, I have no idea. You could say, okay, who was the person involved in this thing? And make it a much smaller question and a series of smaller questions. Say in mathematics, instead of saying what is the Fibonacci sequence below 40, you say, okay, give me the first number, go, wicked. Give me the second number, go. Give me the third number. And instead of having all the pressure on one person, suddenly everyone's sharing that pressure. There are other methods. I believe I've seen a teacher do it in rows before. So it's going to be someone from that row, someone from that row. And the good thing about that, and the thing I liked about that when I saw it, was that the students had a better idea of the chances of them being picked. But, and when I talked to the teacher afterwards, they said there's 2 members of this class who absolutely can't be picked because of reasons behind the scenes and anxiety reasons, and that's absolutely fine. So this was a better way of me narrowing down the AFL, making sure that everyone was being heard, but also not forcing people to give an answer. And that really highlights an area of this that I found in my teaching, is that there are some students who actually it's not a good thing to put them on the spot. And I've had arrangements with students before, quite recently actually. I didn't used to get this, but in the last couple of years, who have said to me after the class, they haven't been picked, but said to me after the class, I'm really nervous about this, blah blah blah, whole conversation, which is absolutely fine. And I've said, well, okay, so I won't ask you to contribute to the class, but what I'll do afterwards, every so often, is come up and ask you a question, kind of one-on-one. Would that be okay? And they said absolutely fine. Yeah, I would not mind that at all. So as a teacher, I'm still getting that AFL. They're still contributing, but it's not exacerbating their anxiety issues that they've had. And I think as a teacher, one size is not going to fit all. You've got to always be flexible with your teaching strategies. You've always got to be ready to have some exceptions. I think traditionally we had no exceptions as teachers. That's gone out the window because we're a much more understanding society now than we were back in the 70s, where the teacher ruled and etc. etc. And that's just not us anymore, and we're much better for it. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. We release videos every single weekday at 5 o'clock in the evening. Thank you.